For the average retiree, your 60s are a great time to Roth convert and fix a lot of future tax problems. But what if you miss this window? Are Roth conversions still on the table? Is there the opportunity to fix tax problems when you're already forced to take RMDs in your 70s? That's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. Depending on your birth year, required minimum distributions start between ages 72 and 75. Your 60s are generally a great time to perform conversions because you have a lot of space to convert. You're likely not taking Social Security for a good portion of that decade. RMDs haven't yet started, so retirees can fix some big tax problems in a relatively short amount of time by having the space to convert. Now, once you are on RMDs, know that you aren't able to convert your RMD. And so any conversion has to happen on top of Social Security and on top of that RMD. This makes tax planning slightly more difficult, but know that still some retirees will find it prudent to do smaller conversions year to year. Let me explain. There is a creep problem when it comes to RMDs. Say you are mandated to start taking RMDs at age 72. The first RMD you take will likely be the smallest RMD you ever take again without any additional intervention. This is because the amount you are forced to take is based on a formula, and year by year, you are forced to take a larger percentage from your IRAs. In the early years, the percentage you are forced to take is relatively small, and so there's likely to be some account growth here as well. Because of this, RMDs generally grow until you're in your late 80s or even early 90s. Let's say your first RMD puts you in a little bit of some tax pain. Maybe it forces you into a higher tax bracket or into something like a Medicare penalty. This problem is only going to get worse, but we likely have some opportunities to fix this problem. Now, every situation is different, but let me give you a two-step framework to assess whether you should be converting while you're already taking RMDs. On the screen, I have a forward-looking tax graph for a 73-year-old couple with about $1.8 million in tax-deferred accounts. This year in 2023, the RMD they were forced to take, combined with a small pension and some Social Security income, pushed them into the 22% bracket. But this was pretty close to the income need they wanted to take in 2023. But although the 2023 RMD wasn't that costly, we clearly see a problem will grow because of RMD creep. Eventually, those growing RMDs will push them into what will be the 28 and 33% brackets. So first off, we see we have a problem, or rather a future problem, that needs to be fixed. This couple might be comfortable, let's say, staying in the 22 and 25% bracket, but they don't want to move up any higher if possible. So now that we know this couple has a long-term tax problem, what can we do to fix it? Often on this channel, I talk about the importance of an annual tax roadmap. All this is a graph that shows as you add more income with something like, let's say, a Roth conversion, what tax rate will you be paying on that additional income? With state taxes, Social Security, Medicare penalties, long-term capital gains, and more, tax rates on future income can vary quite widely. Laying out your situation in this format can be incredibly beneficial to making some easy tax decisions. For instance, we can see on this graph that a small common sense conversion can help stop the creep of those future RMDs. This couple has a little bit more than $50,000 of conversion room before they hit the first Medicare penalty, that first IRMA zone. From a federal tax standpoint, they will pay 22% tax on this conversion, and that will help them avoid the 28 and 33% bracket in the future. So this is obviously a move that makes a lot of sense. I have this small conversion highlighted in green and labeled as an easy decision. In my opinion, this couple is making a mistake if they don't take this easy opportunity. But even beyond that, strong cases can be made for taking a Medicare penalty or two and converting somewhere in the yellow area. The point being, despite already taking an RMD, this couple still has options to improve their future tax situation. Let's go through a couple other scenarios. Here we have a single filer in Michigan with $40,000 of Social Security benefits from delaying until 70 and a bit more than $8,500 in dividends from a taxable account. Now, here is their full tax picture. Say this person's RMD falls at this orange line. Is there room for a Roth conversion? Well, it's certainly harder for me to say yes in this situation. A case could potentially be made if we want to plan around the expectation of future tax hikes. But outside of that, this person faces some pretty large tax rates on their conversion. It's essentially choosing to be pushed into the worst zone that we can see on the screen, which would be a 50% tax rate zone. Now, that's tough to swallow if we are trying to be conservative while we're converting. But let's say this person had a larger RMD and found themselves here. Now is there an opportunity to convert? 100% there is. This person has been pushed into a Medicare penalty zone. Now, we know these penalty zones are tax cliffs, meaning as soon as you fall over a cliff, you have the same penalty regardless of how much income you show up until the next penalty zone. So at the very least, we want to fill up this zone, which would lead to probably a $20,000 plus Roth conversion. Let's walk through this from a different perspective. While converting by a tax cliff, we either want to avoid the cliff or we want to push all the way through it. We're going to have the same penalty whether we push $1,000 over it or we push all the way to the next threshold zone. For instance, in scenario 1 on the screen, this person avoids a second IRMA penalty. In scenario 2, say an RMD puts this person $5,000 over the IRMA threshold. This retiree will have a $1,500 expense whether they are $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 over this threshold. So taking advantage of this zone can be highly beneficial, and they should convert right up to the point before the next zone in scenario 3. That way they spread out that $1,500 expense, dropping the marginal cost of that expense from over 30% to just under 5%. And so as a retiree is considering conversions while on RMDs, know that sometimes a conversion can't fit in. If you're bumping right up to one of those IRMA zones, you might not want to convert. But there are a lot of places on this tax graph where some conversions will make sense and strategic conversions may help stop that future RMD creep. Now, there is an additional option that charitable-minded retirees can use to further stop this creep, and that's using something called a QCD, a Qualified Charitable Distribution. Simply put, a QCD allows you to give away a portion or all of your RMD directly to charity. A QCD is hands down the best way to give to charity in my opinion, because you don't need to itemize to gain a tax benefit. You get a deduction for every dollar you give away up to $100,000 per person. So early on in taking RMDs, this can be used to your benefit. First, you can give away a portion of your RMD that puts you in a high tax rate zone. Say you were pushing to that 50% marginal tax bracket zone that Michigan retiree had. You might find that you'd rather give $5,000 to charity rather than receive less than $2,500 in proceeds yourself. But further, you can use QCDs to fill in with more Roth conversion room. Say you're comfortable with where that RMD puts you in a given year. You can give away that RMD and then fill back in that deduction with a Roth conversion and be in the exact same tax position, but now you took $90,000 from your IRAs rather than only $45,000 with the example on the screen. This means you slowed RMD growth in a much bigger way. Now, the ideas I laid out in this video is a big reason why I'm a proponent of not getting too aggressive and converting everything within your IRAs in your 60s. Often you just want to make a big dent in your 60s, but don't forget that you're likely going to have some beneficial opportunities once you get into your 70s. And if you missed out on conversions altogether and are facing some future tax problems, know that you still have some control. It's not that Roth conversions are completely off the table. Take advantage of whatever position you find yourself in. If you like this video and want to learn about 4 long-term Roth conversion planning mistakes that I see retirees commonly make, click on this video right here. And always remember, you don't need more money, you need a better plan. Thanks for watching today.